Gentlemen, when a woman is seeing another man while maintaining a relationship with you, she doesn't announce it with obvious lies or careless mistakes. She employs sophisticated meeting tactics that allow her to maintain both relationships simultaneously without raising suspicion. These aren't random behaviors or occasional slip-ups. They're calculated strategies that create plausible cover stories, manage logistics, and establish patterns that normalize her absences while you remain completely unaware that your relationship is sharing space with someone else's. Before we expose these tactics, hit subscribe, smash that like button, and drop a comment if you've ever discovered that the innocent explanations you accepted were actually cover for someone else. Your story might help another man recognize the tactics before he's blindsided by the truth. Tactic 1. The routine work obligation. I have to stay late for this project. This tactic manifests as regular work obligations that require her to stay late at the office, come in on weekends, or attend evening events that conveniently happen during prime dating hours. She establishes a pattern of work demands that seem legitimate and professional, creating a reliable cover story that explains her absence without raising suspicion. The brilliance of this tactic is that work obligations are universally accepted, difficult to verify, and questioning them makes you seem unsupportive of her career. The deception works through establishing credibility over time. She doesn't suddenly start working late when she begins seeing someone else. She mentions work stress and upcoming projects weeks in advance, building a narrative that makes the eventual late nights seem like natural progression rather than sudden change. By the time she's regularly unavailable for evening hours, you've been conditioned to accept that her job demands significant time investment. Notice whether her work obligations follow predictable patterns that seem too convenient. Does she have late meetings every Thursday, the exact night her other relationship needs regular time? Do weekend work sessions happen on Saturdays when you'd normally spend time together, but never on Sundays when she has other plans? If her work schedule specifically blocks the times you'd typically be together while leaving other times mysteriously free, the pattern isn't coincidental. Watch whether her work stories contain consistent details or remain vague and changeable. Can she name the project she's working on, the colleagues she's meeting with, and the specific deadlines driving these hours? Or does she offer general descriptions that shift when you reference previous conversations? Legitimate work obligations come with boring, consistent details. Fabricated ones stay vague because specifics create accountability and memory, demands that are difficult to maintain across multiple lies. Pay attention to whether her appearance matches her claimed activities. Does she leave for work in professional attire, but her hair and makeup seem too elaborate for an office environment? Does she return from late work sessions looking refreshed and happy rather than exhausted? If her presentation suggests date preparation rather than work preparation, and her post-work demeanor suggests enjoyable evening rather than stressful overtime, the work excuse is covering different activities. The psychological mechanism is using career ambition as unquestionable justification for absence. Modern culture celebrates professional dedication, especially for women breaking barriers in their careers, which means questioning her work commitment appears as undermining her professional growth. She's weaponizing progressive values about supporting women's careers to create cover for betrayal, knowing you'll suppress legitimate concerns to avoid seeming like the boyfriend who holds her back. The verification tells the truth her words conceal. If her work stories sound suspicious, simple verification reveals reality. Does her company actually have evening events as frequently as she claims? Do her colleagues ever mention these projects in casual conversation? Has her paycheck reflected the overtime hours she's supposedly working? Real work obligations leave evidence trails in schedules, paychecks, and colleague awareness. Fabricated ones exist only in her explanations, evaporating under any genuine scrutiny because they were never real to begin with. The long-term impact is you becoming supportive of the very absence that's betraying you. You're encouraging her career advancement, while that advancement is actually time invested in another relationship. You've been trained to see work obligations as sacred and unquestionable, which means you've silenced your instincts and accepted explanations that deserve investigation. By the time you discover that the late Tuesday meetings were actually weekly dates with another man, you've spent months or years championing her professional dedication, while that dedication was actually romantic commitment elsewhere, and your support for her career was manipulation that made you complicit in your own deception. Tactic 2, the strategic friend emergency. She's going through something and really needs me. This tactic involves creating or exaggerating friend emergencies that require immediate attention, extended support, or regular check-ins that conveniently happen when she wants time with someone else. Her friend is going through a breakup, dealing with family problems, experiencing work stress, or facing emotional crisis that positions your partner as the essential support system who must drop everything to be there for her struggling friend. The deception works because friend support is culturally sacred, and suggesting someone shouldn't help a friend in crisis makes you seem selfish and uncaring. She's not just going out, she's being a good friend to someone who needs her, which frames her absence as virtuous rather than suspicious. The crisis creates urgency that prevents you from suggesting she reschedule or questioning why this particular friend emergency happens to coincide with times you had plans together. Notice whether these friend emergencies happen with convenient timing. Does her friend only have crises during evenings and weekends when you'd typically spend time together? Do emergencies consistently arise right after you've made plans, forcing cancellations that seem justified by someone else's need? If friend emergencies specifically interrupt your time while never affecting her work schedule or other commitments, the timing reveals strategic deployment rather than genuine crisis response. Watch whether her friend's problems ever actually resolve, or whether they exist in permanent crisis state. Has this friend been going through the same breakup for 6 months? Does every problem get solved only to be replaced by another that requires equally urgent attention? Real problems have trajectories. They escalate, peak, and resolve. Fabricated problems stay in permanent crisis mode because they're excuses rather than actual situations requiring resolution. Pay attention to whether you ever meet this friend who supposedly needs so much support. Does your partner keep her friend life completely separate from you, claiming the friend is too fragile or private to meet? If you're in a serious relationship but have never encountered the person who supposedly requires hours of your partner's time multiple times per week, the invisibility suggests this friend might not exist as described, or the support sessions might not be what they appear. The psychological mechanism is using empathy and social obligation as shields against accountability. By positioning her absence as helping someone in need, she creates moral high ground that makes questioning her seem heartless. She's not choosing someone else over you. She's being a good person who helps friends. And if you have a problem with that, you're the one with character flaws. The friend emergency transforms her choice into obligation, her desire into duty, and your suspicion into moral failing. The verification cuts through emotional manipulation with factual reality. If friend emergencies sound suspicious, verification is straightforward. Does this friend exist and acknowledge receiving this level of support? Do other people in her social circle know about these ongoing crises? Has she ever video called you while supposedly at her friend's house providing support? Real friend support happens in contexts that include evidence, witnesses, and the friend's own acknowledgement of receiving help. Fabricated friend emergencies exist only in her explanations, collapsing immediately when you request any verification because the friend crisis was never the real reason for her absence. The long-term impact is you learning to suppress legitimate concerns by framing them as moral failures. You can't question her friend's support without seeming selfish, which trains you to ignore instincts that would otherwise protect you. You've accepted that her friends' needs supersede your relationship needs, creating hierarchy where you're always secondary to conveniently timed crises. By the time you discover that the friend emergency requiring 3-hour support sessions twice weekly was actually regular dates with another man, you've normalized being deprioritized and convinced yourself that patience and understanding were virtues, when actually they were vulnerabilities she exploited to maintain a double life, while you questioned your own instincts instead of her explanations. Tactic 3. The family obligation shield. My mum, sister, dad really needs help with something. This tactic employs family obligations as unquestionable justification for regular absences that conveniently create time for another relationship. She needs to help her mother with house projects, support her sister through difficult times, assist her father with technology issues, or attend family gatherings that require her presence for extended periods. Family obligations are sacred and culturally protected, making them perfect cover because questioning them positions you as someone who doesn't respect family bonds. The deception works through emotional and cultural leverage that makes verification seem inappropriate. Families do need help, relatives do have problems, and being there for family is considered virtuous behavior. She's not asking for suspicious freedom. She's fulfilling family responsibilities. And if you question whether her mother really needs 5 hours of help every Saturday, you're the boyfriend who doesn't understand family values and wants to isolate her from her relatives. Notice whether her family obligations follow patterns that seem strategically timed. Does her mother only need help on Friday evenings when you'd typically have date night? Do family gatherings happen with such frequency that she sees her family more than she sees you? If family time consistently occupies prime relationship hours while never affecting her work schedule or other commitments, the pattern suggests these obligations serve multiple purposes beyond family support. Watch whether you're ever included in these family activities or kept completely separate. In healthy relationships, partners eventually meet family and participate in some family events. If you've been together for months or years, but have never met her family despite her supposedly spending significant time with them, the separation is intentional. Either her family doesn't know about you, suggesting you're not the primary relationship, or the family time isn't actually family time. Pay attention to details that don't quite add up about her family stories. Does her description of family members' capabilities and needs match what she tells you about them in other contexts? If her mother is supposedly independent and active when mentioned in other conversations, but suddenly needs hours of help with basic tasks when family obligation excuses are needed, the inconsistency reveals that family needs are being exaggerated or invented to justify absence. The psychological mechanism is weaponizing family values to create unquestionable absences. Modern relationships emphasize respecting each partner's family connections, which means suggesting she skip family events or reduce family time makes you seem controlling and disrespectful. She's exploiting cultural reverence for family to create regular, protected time that you can't question without violating relationship norms about respecting family bonds, knowing that family obligations are the one excuse that comes with built-in immunity against scrutiny. The verification requires courage, but provides clarity. If family obligations sound suspicious, direct verification is possible but socially awkward. Has she ever video called you while supposedly at her mother's house? Do her family members ever reference these regular help sessions in conversation? Would her family confirm that they need this level of assistance? Real family obligations exist in verifiable contexts with witnesses who confirm the story. Fabricated ones exist only in her explanations, and any attempt at verification reveals absence of corroboration because the family need was never the real reason for her unavailability. The long-term impact is you accepting permanent secondary status to family obligations that may not be what they appear. You've been trained to never compete with family, which creates permanent justification for absence that you can't challenge without seeming unreasonable. By the time you discover that helping her sister every Tuesday was actually standing date night with another man, you've spent extended time respecting boundaries that were actually walls protecting her double life, and your culturally appropriate respect for family obligations was the exact vulnerability that enabled her to maintain two relationships simultaneously, while you never questioned the one excuse that came with automatic validity. Tactic 4. The gym health routine. I'm really trying to get in shape. This tactic establishes a regular fitness routine that requires consistent time investment at predictable intervals, creating a perfect cover for meetings with someone else. She joins a gym, starts attending fitness classes, or develops a running routine that happens to require her absence during specific windows several times per week. The health and fitness framing makes the time commitment seem positive and self-improvement oriented, making you seem unsupportive if you question why her workout schedule is so rigid and time-consuming. The deception works because fitness commitment is culturally celebrated, and supporting your partner's health goals is expected in modern relationships. She's not just leaving, she's investing in her health, which appears responsible and attractive rather than suspicious. The routine nature of workout schedules normalizes her predictable absences, and the private nature of gym environments means you're never included in these activities, all while the health-focused framing prevents you from questioning why she needs 2-hour gym sessions 4 times per week. Notice whether her fitness commitment shows results that match her time investment. Has she been going to the gym 5 days a week for months without any visible progress or changes in strength, endurance, or appearance? Does she return from workouts looking suspiciously fresh, with makeup intact and hair still styled? If her workout routine requires massive time investment but produces no fitness results, and she returns looking like she hasn't actually exercised, the gym excuse is covering different activities. Watch whether she ever invites you to join her workouts or keeps this aspect of her life completely separate. Most people who are genuinely enthusiastic about fitness eventually suggest their partner join them, try their gym, or participate in their activities. If she's actively resistant to you joining, claims her gym time is personal space she needs alone, or always has reasons why you can't be part of her fitness journey. The separation is intentional because your presence would interfere with her actual activities during these times. Pay attention to whether her fitness stories contain specific, consistent details or remain vague. Can she describe the classes she takes, name the instructors, and discuss specific workouts? Or does she offer generic descriptions about working out without any detail that would indicate genuine participation in fitness activities? Real gym routines involve specific exercises, classes with instructors, and fellow gym members who become familiar faces. Fabricated routines stay vague because they're excuses rather than experiences. The psychological mechanism is using self-improvement as virtuous justification for regular, predictable absences that establish routine unavailability. Modern culture celebrates health and fitness, especially for women taking control of their bodies and health, which means questioning her commitment appears as undermining her goals. She's leveraging wellness culture to create protected time blocks that occur with such regularity that they establish expected absence patterns, normalizing times when she's unavailable, while making those times seem dedicated to positive purposes rather than suspicious activities. The verification is straightforward if you're willing to test the explanation. Real gym memberships leave evidence. Does she actually have a gym membership, or does she pay for something that doesn't require facility access? Has she ever checked in on social media at the gym she claims to attend? Do workout clothes come home sweaty and used, Or do they look suspiciously clean for someone who supposedly just exercised? Physical evidence of actual workouts is impossible to fake convincingly over extended periods, because real exercise produces specific markers that fabricated exercise sessions don't create. The long-term impact is you supporting and encouraging the very time blocks being used to maintain another relationship. You're praising her dedication to health, while that dedication is actually commitment to someone else. You've been trained to see her gym time as sacred self-care that you should celebrate rather than question, which means you've actively encouraged the regular absences that facilitate her double life. By the time you discover that Tuesday and Thursday evening gym sessions were actually standing dates with another man, you've spent months supporting what you thought was self-improvement while it was actually relationship maintenance elsewhere, and your encouragement of her health goals was manipulation that made you an unwitting accomplice in facilitating time for betrayal. Tactic 5. The errand multiplication. I have so much running around to do today. This tactic involves transforming simple errands into elaborate, time-consuming expeditions that require far more hours than the actual tasks would reasonably take. She needs to go grocery shopping, return something at the mall, pick up dry cleaning, and stop by the bank. Simple tasks that should take an hour, but somehow require her entire afternoon. The multiple errand approach creates built-in explanation for extended absence, where the actual time is spent with someone else, while the errand story provides plausible cover. The deception works because errands are mundane, believable, and difficult to verify. Everyone has to run errands, and the multiple-stop nature means that if one task is quick, another took longer than expected, creating flexible time estimates that can explain any length of absence. The boring, routine nature of errands makes them seem too insignificant to lie about, which is exactly why they're perfect cover for significant deceptions. Notice whether her errand timing makes logical sense or whether simple tasks consistently require excessive time. Does a grocery store trip that should take 45 minutes regularly consume 3 hours? Does returning one item at a nearby store somehow require her entire Saturday afternoon? If routine errands consistently take multiples of the time they should reasonably require, the extended time isn't about the errands. It's about what's happening during the time the errands don't actually fill. Watch whether she returns with evidence of having completed the errands she claimed to run. Did she actually bring home groceries from the grocery store trip? Is there a receipt from the store where she supposedly returned something? If she claims to have spent 3 hours running errands, but returns empty-handed with vague explanations about why she didn't actually complete the tasks she left to do, the errands were excuse rather than actual objective. Pay attention to whether she ever invites you to join her for errands or consistently prefers to handle them alone. Most couples occasionally run errands together, especially routine tasks like grocery shopping. If she's adamant that errands are something she needs to do alone, gets irritated when you offer to come along, or always has reasons why your presence would be inconvenient, the solitude is requirement because errands provide cover that your presence would eliminate. The psychological mechanism is using mundane activities as camouflage for significant deception. Errands are so boring and routine that they seem beneath suspicion. Nobody would bother lying about grocery shopping or dry cleaning pickup. This ordinariness is precisely why they work as cover, creating explanations that are too insignificant to question while actually facilitating time that's anything but insignificant. She's hiding major betrayal behind minor tasks, knowing that the mundane nature of the excuse prevents scrutiny that extraordinary excuses would invite. The verification is simple but revelatory. Errand stories are easily verified through basic questions and evidence. Where exactly did she go? What stores did she visit? Can she show receipts from her shopping? If her 3-hour absence supposedly involved specific stores and tasks, Basic follow-up questions and evidence requests reveal truth. Real errands leave evidence trails in receipts, purchases, and specific details about what was done where. Fabricated errands collapse under minimal scrutiny because they were never meant to withstand any verification, only to provide minimal plausible excuse that wouldn't be questioned. The long-term impact is you accepting that routine life tasks somehow require suspicious amounts of time while never questioning why normal activities take abnormal duration. You've been trained to see extended absences for mundane reasons as normal rather than suspicious, which conditions you to stop noticing when things don't add up. By the time you discover that the Saturday afternoon errand runs were actually lunch dates and afternoon meetups with another man, you've spent extended periods accepting that grocery shopping somehow requires 4 hours and that running 3 simple errands necessitates her entire day. And your acceptance of illogical time requirements was the exact passivity she needed to maintain a double life where half her time was spent with someone else while the other half was spent with you, and errands were the boring, unquestioned bridge between two relationships.